Yeah, well, let me step back first and say why it came to us. Project Blue, as it was presented to us, would have used a lot of water. And our staff, city staff, worked with them to come up with a scheme to use water in a way they called net positive water, which is a meaningless term.
They were saying it was going to be water positive. They were going to produce water. And at the last supervisor committee meeting, I even asked them, I'm like, why don't we invest in that? Like, that's something we should buy, this magical water making machine they promised. It's not on the table anymore.
It would be like adding a second Tucson to the grid, which is pretty insane, especially in this climate crisis that we're all going through and this drought that we're all going through. The river in town over there is dry. We don't have more water to give to these companies for them to make profit for their shareholders.
These massive data centers are first, they're just not right for the desert. This facility we know is going to be powered by TEP. A majority of power from TEP comes from natural gas. Natural gas has a lot of water implications when it comes to generating power for electricity. Plus they just generate so much heat, right? Into the environment. It's already hot here.
It was a very complicated deal. For it to happen, they would have to be annexed by the city of Tucson. It was on land sold to them by Pima County. We're the largest water utility in this area, but we have a strict policy. We do not supply water outside of our water service area. And the only exception to that is if land is annexed in. So they proposed to be annexed. And annexation comes to mayor and council.
They want to know more about the water usage and the power usage by Project Blue, which would be built here.
What are we doing here? Why are we selling off our resources? We know that land is wealth. Land is absolutely wealth. I know that because I don't have any land, so I don't have any wealth. And Tucson should not be selling itself short for short-term gains, selling itself off so cheaply for short-term gains.
For a while I taught at UA. I left in 2013. I just arrived back in town to discover that there was something called Project Blue that was happening. I'd never heard of it, but I've only been here since August. I was actually living for a couple of months in Virginia, in Northern Virginia, where the data centers are half the landscape.
They pop up, they multiply like rabbits.
And I was going to some meetings about that, so I learned about them in the big picture. I know that the connections between them and AI, and why here, more than in Northern Virginia, it is more of a concern because of the water and the environment. So there's if you're gonna have them, this is a bad place. I understand that much.
I met with Beal, which is the company that's been negotiating this. And the contract would actually be written with a subsidiary of Beal. This is how corporate America protects itself. No one who did the deal would be liable. I said, yeah, I'd like to meet with you all. And we arranged it at my office. And what was great is at the beginning, I said, by the way, anything you say is not under the NDA. An NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, is what a lot of municipalities use when they're attracting business, because business has proprietary secrets. They don't want to reveal things to their competitors. And they don't want to reveal if they're moving their plant from Chicago to Arizona. So the city was under an NDA, but I exempted this meeting, which was great because we asked insightful questions. I decided right away that they were lying bastards and that I wanted to put an early stop to the annexation.
When the Board of Supervisors took the vote on it, we had close to zero information about what we were actually voting on. Mm-hmm. So that in and of itself was a primary concern.
This, as you know, is a plan that was just thrust upon us. That's the way it works, secrecy, backroom deals. I mean, in a sense, why are we surprised, right? Capitalism has changed in order to make it even tougher and easier for them to make the money and such, so we shouldn't be surprised.
We would have had more time if there wasn't an NDA signed, and quite frankly, I just don't understand where public officials get off being able to hide things and keep things a secret when it has to do with my money. my land and my friends and my city and my community as they do it in my building, right? This is the people's house. And so, quite frankly, it's ridiculous.
Elected officials are here to represent their constituents. That's why they're elected to their position and not appointed. I come here to let them know my voice, and I want to remind them that they work for me, they work for our constituents, not just me, but everyone in my district, and they should be voting and considering what we have to say, our lived experience, our opinion. We're the ones who live here.
At the outset, I moved to say no. I was surprised that all 7 of my colleagues voted for it. So for me, it was very exciting. Folks had come to protest it. Some had watched it. The word got out that they had won this particular battle. I thought that would kill it. That's what they had told Pima County Board of Supervisors. They told them in public that if it doesn't, if they can't get the annexation, they can't do it. Again, they were lying.
I'm also just here today as an independent citizen who's concerned about Project Blue and this sort of zombie project that has risen again. Even though City Council and the City of Tucson has voted it down overwhelmingly, a unanimous decision to vote down Project Blue.
Council members Kevin Dahl and Karen Ulick made a motion to pull the annexation of the land altogether, effectively squashing the project.
But it has been resurrected here by the Pima County Board of Supervisors and by the county as Beal Infrastructure seeks to continue with purchase and annexation of 190 acres here in the outskirts of Tucson.
Nevertheless, the Project Blue does not seem to me to be motivated on what is best for the constituents. That is not the impression I've gotten, and I have not seen anyone make that argument convincingly.
I just don't feel adequately represented by my board of supervisors in the way that I feel represented by perhaps my city council, right? I just would like to see you listen to your constituents' more as you showed that, Scott.
But, let's face it, we were all bum rushed. We were wrong. They bum rushed the city, they bum rushed this community, and all of a sudden, we've got this great economic plan without people knowing the truth. You need to know the truth.
It appears that he and Chairperson Scott and Supervisor Christie are genuinely not listening to their constituents. They have completely disregarded all of the research presented them, and they seem immovable in their willingness to listen to the people that they represent.
They were trying to put pressure on Supervisor Matt Hines to stop the sale and rezoning of county-owned land where Project Blue would be built on. But Supervisor Hines says there's nothing he can do.
I was surprised to learn that they said, we don't need the water, so we don't need to be annexed. It will just take more energy. Roughly, they're using air conditioning rather than evaporative cooling, which uses a lot more water. And they'll probably get some water somehow. Maybe they'll drill a well or buy it from some other water company and pipe it over. So that's where we stand today.
What we've learned from every community we've talked to wherever they build a hyperscale data center is those costs get passed on to ratepayers.
Where is this 286 megawatts really coming from, and when are we going to pay for that? Because there is nothing in the energy supply agreement that protects us from paying for generation.
Power belongs to the people, water belongs to the people, and we need power and water to sustain our future as a people.
Your oath is to protect ratepayers, not guarantee one energy user uninterrupted power at our expense.
I'm asking my elected representatives on the commission of the ACC to vote no on the CSA.
I haven't seen or heard anything in the record that suggests ratepayers are at risk of getting stuck with these costs, and I will be the first one to cry foul in the event that that happens, and that's why I wanted on the record for the utility to tell me, sitting here today, that that will not be the fact. And the item passes 4-1 with Commissioner Walden voting nay. So with that, we are adjourned.